initially, but is that going to cost you down the road in a big way? That's my concern. And if you look at the benefits that you're getting for that 1 or 1.5%, it's a good buy. But my fear is that, well, we did this, and now in coming years that just didn't work out at 1%. Now it's 8%. You know.
Well, I think that's a big unknown. Obviously, the biggest thing that it changes is what is included in that preventive care category.
A number of things.
And so we've taken what's now a pretty simple preventive care, which is, really covers a physical a year, and now we've taken that and we've brought that category out here, number 1 and number 2. If it falls in that category, Blue Cross has to pay it at 100%. And so the big unknown is, right now their position is up to about 2% for that preventive care expansion. But what none of us know is, a lot of these preventive care guidelines have been around for some time. Things like how frequently should a woman have a mammogram? Things like, at what age should men start having a prostate exam? Things like when you hit age 50, you should have a routine colonoscopy. I mean, these aren't new things. These recommended standards have been there for some time. The level of compliance is not particularly high on those. On some it is, on some it's not. It kind of depends on the level of awareness. But what we don't know is the low level of compliance due to the fact that it's not paid for, or is it due to the fact that people just don't want to go through the procedure? It probably is, but we really don't know. So, will compliance go from 25% to 50%? When you go from a routine colonoscopy being deductible and co-insurance to 100% covered, we're going to see it's not going to be unlike prescription drugs. I think you're going to see, from the provider side, you're going to see a change in marketing.
With all that said, and what's your recommendation to us? Let me go ahead and continue. Let me have some conversations with them and give them evidence that, yes, we changed the plan with you. We didn't change the employees' plan. And then I can use that other example that I had in terms of how they did that, and let me see. I can't force them to change their position, but let me see if I can get them to recognize and be a little more flexible in that, and indicate that, at least give us a choice of whether we want to be grandfathered or not. Yeah. Is that acceptable? Yeah. We were just really disappointed, and our representative really couldn't disagree with us, but this is their position.
Right. Right. I mean, it's the company line. I mean, that's really what it is. So, yeah, and their definition of where you have to make your decision is, they're defining plan year as being when the deductible starts, January 1, when you start with a new deductible. We have some other carriers that are defining that as a renewal date. So you have some variations in that.
Would that be better for you?
Everything else changes July 1st. It
That'd be
just
better
as
for
well
us.
stay July 1st.
Well, that I don't think I'm going to get them to change.
Yeah, and I would
Yeah,
hope,
that-
it's really makes more sense to change it July 1st.
But we start with a new deductible January.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what they're... and
Oh, yeah, January.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Okay.
January would be fine.
That's a right pattern.
Makes
Okay.
more sense to the insurance that it starts over January 1st. Yeah.
Okay. So most of the, unlimited lifetime maximum is going to happen. That's really not a grandfathered issue. The dependents to age 26, that's already happened. The only thing grandfathered status provided you there is if you didn't want to extend coverage to dependents who had coverage available where they worked. You don't have to. But really Blue Cross is like a lot, they already implemented that just all across the board, really last year. They did that early. We talked about the expanded preventive care, the patient protection. That's really not an issue for us because the things that they're talking about there, some of the referral requirements our plan doesn't have. The one I put a question mark by that I'm doing some checking into is, for the first time, insured plans are going to be subject to non-discrimination testing. And I don't know, I'm trying to get an answer, I don't know if that applies to governmental bodies or not. So I've got to find that out. But basically what they do is and I think we're okay, but it's more of a compliance nuisance. Basically what you do is you identify what under the definitions a highly compensated group, and then the testing says, are you treating the highly compensated group and the non-highly compensated groups the same as it relates to eligibility, benefits, and cost sharing? It sounds simple, but the issue is that if it applies here, the issue is compliance. You have to do it.
And I filled those forms out before for Walmart.
We certainly wouldn't. The only thing that I think about where you could possibly have a problem is that we don't offer this benefit unless you're full-time.
That won't be a problem. That's not an issue because you can make that.
So that is not considered.
That's not a problem.
Okay.
That's not going to be one of the things that's tested.
That's like, we should be fine.
Yeah, the issue really is that you still have to do the testing, and you have to show you did the testing. So you have so there's a compliance issue and there's a cost issue that you don't have otherwise. So I'll get a confirmation on that. And then I heard something the other day, and you guys can tell me if you've heard anything. I've not heard it from anybody else. But that I heard it suggested that, in the state of Iowa, you have to allow retirees to stay on the plan until they become Medicare eligible. You don't have to pay for the coverage. I heard it suggested the other day that there's something in healthcare reform that is going to require you, any public entity, so be it county government, city government, state government, schools, etc., would require you to pay for retirees, your contribution, you'd have to contribute to retiree coverage the same that you're contributing.
Employees.
Well, I don't think that's accurate, but has anybody raised that issue with you? That's the first time I mean, we see some pretty wild stuff coming out of interpretations. I'd never heard of it.
We sat in on a deal down at Iowa City that a federal government employee came in and gave it was our training for county government for a couple days, and he didn't say anything about that.
No, I had a city clerk call me when we talked earlier this week, and I said I've never heard of that. So I don't think that's accurate, but I'm going to check it out. I just want to.
I've never ever seen it.
I think it's a misinterpretation, but if there's something there, I'll follow up with you.
That change your employment.
Well, yeah. I mean, the reason I don't think. I mean, you.
Oh, it would.
I mean, what do you think about it? Look at the whole. The whole state of Iowa.
Until I get. It's huge.
I mean, you got in your required IPERS time, and a lot of folks continue to work for the health insurance benefit.
Right.
And that, like Dean said,
that's a huge budget issue.
Oh,
yeah, huge.
Wow.
So I don't think there's anything to it. Just so if you hadn't heard some of that, this is the first time I've heard that. But we're pursuing it. I'll let you know I'll just confirm what I think is correct. But in case you hear that floating around out there, I just want you to know somebody's putting it out there. So I'll double check. And then they delayed the W-2 reporting requirement, so you don't have to do that.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you don't have to do that reporting now until it'd be in 2013 for the 2012.
So it's not taxable till then?
Well, it wasn't taxable before. All you had to do, what they're requiring is that you report on the W-2 the value of the benefits that are being provided.
Right, but there is also talk that that will be taxable in the future. Is that
Well,
not
that's not in the law today.
Okay. I thought it was.
No, that's not in the law today. What they're going to use that for is when you get, let's assume nothing changes, we hit a point, and I can't remember what year it is, if it's either 2014 or 2018, where they define what are high-cost plans, and if your cost for your plan is above that, then you could be subject to a penalty.
Are you certain of that? Because
Yeah,
I read that on a number of occasions, that they were going to require W-2 reporting and be taxable as a benefit,
Yeah,
because
no.
that was going to help fund part of the cost of what they're doing.
Yeah, no,
Did you see that as well?
Well, I mean,
that I
you
am
heard that
certain
being
of.
kicked around in the
Yeah, that I
media.
am. There were several, I know there were several emails floating around, I saw it from two or
What do you
three
think of
different
watching
sources.
this?
But it's just that
Can
that's,
you imagine, like, the people put Obama in would want that to happen to them?
Well, my thought that it might be accurate is they have to fund it somehow.
right.
And so then they would tax the $9,000 benefit, like in our case,
Yeah.
to help fund it.
At this point, no.
Okay.
At this point, no. It's just for reporting purposes.
That'd be a big taking.
Well, I know, but I really,
I mean, it'd be taking from their base.
There certainly are theories that that's where it's going to go.
huh, okay.
But the way the law is written today, it's not.
I thought that was a done deal. I thought
Yeah,
that was
no.
over.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
So I think from your perspective, you just want to make sure going in, not, originally we'd had a different conversation, but going into 2012, that you start collecting that data from the beginning of the year, so when you get into January and you're getting the W-2s done, you've got, it's just really an administrative ease that you've got all the information collected.
Okay.
So, and then then the last is on the flex plan as of January 1, over-the-counter medications are no longer eligible for reimbursement under the flex plan, unless you get a prescription for something you don't need a prescription for.
Well, I have that.
Do you?
I take Prevacid. And it
Okay.
used to be you had to have a prescription, but now, just within the last few months, they changed that to an over-the-counter. So that was gonna be one of my questions, but that won't affect it because I'm under prescription, as you can hear my voice.
If you have a prescription, so what I did, a couple things, these are the categories of over-the-counter medications. So if you can get a prescription, then the odd thing about it is if you get a prescription, you don't have to have the prescription to pick up the over-the-counter medication. What you end up doing is you have to submit that prescription when you file your claim for reimbursement. So the debit card will not work for these anymore because these are the categories they've taken out of that system. So it's kind of a, now this is one of the areas, in fact I know that at least there was work in one of the committees even prior to the election that this might be one of those things we see change. Before the next election in 2012, it's possible you might, but we're not going to see a major repeal in the next 2 years. It's